I think it's 7 years ago I did this. So this is old. So, but first I want to talk about vegans and omnis. Who's here has read the book Omnivores Dilemma? Just one amazing book. I mean, he really wants to be a vegan or vegetarian at one point in the book, and he's talking about, because he's about halfway through the book. It's a chronological order kind of a book. He's trying. He wants to be a vegan or a vegetarian because he believes it's a more ethical path. And I gotta say that if anybody goes down the vegan or vegetarian path, I think that's very impressive. Very, hat is off. It's like that's a noble path. The only problem I have with vegans or vegetarians is when they insist that everybody else in the world has to do what they're doing. And I don't think that that's appropriate, but they're so militant about it becomes problematic. I think that there's a lot of people that do a vegan diet and suddenly their health goes great. Suddenly it's like, wow, this is amazing. I don't want to ever go back being anything but a vegan. And I think there's also people that are in the opposite camp, where they try a vegan diet and they're miserable, and they just get sick. And so it's like so the militant veganism doesn't really work.
Could I suggest another book, Vegetarian Myth?
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the title of the book itself elicits huge outlash.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Weston A. Price Foundation has really done some amazing stuff. I mean, wow. A great source when you're choosing which way to go. But all I want to say is that, and then I love the thing that Alan Savory said at Permaculture Voices 1. He got up on that stage and he said, let's just assume that everybody is going to be a vegan, all right? We've done that. We've decided it. We've all embraced it. We all love being vegans, and now every human on earth is a vegan. And let's just say that that's what we've decided to do, and we've done it. And he says, now, the world will end if we don't use paddock shift grazing. And so it's a fact. That's the end of it. That's the bottom line. If we don't somehow get the ruminants to move around in the proper fashion, it will be the end of all life on Earth. I thought that was extremely profound, and he has a huge presentation to back it all up. And I hope if you ever get a chance to see Alan Savory speak, you should do it. It's amazing. I think a big part of the dilemma from Omnivores Dilemma came from the idea that when you're going to harvest carrots, it's a big machine that digs the carrots up. And along the way, it kills a lot of little critters. And so when you get those vegan carrots at Whole Foods or the Good Food Store or wherever it is you go to get your organic carrots, there's a lot of deaths on those carrots. At the same time, of course, you eat beef, there's a death involved in that. And so the dilemma is killing a cow worse than killing all the little mice and other creatures that live in the soils where the carrots were? And so there is that. Now, of course, in the world of permaculture, we're going to shoot for polycultures. We're not going to use big machinery like that to harvest. And I think that, when it comes to marketing food for permaculture, that would be a smart thing to do, is to say, this carrot was harvested by somebody reaching over and pulling it up out of the ground, and thus, no little furry creature was killed doing this, nor was a ground nesting bird killed doing this, or anything like that, as opposed to the stuff that's, industrially harvested, even if it is organic. For every acre a vegan needs, an omni needs 10 acres. This is not true. This is, spin put together by some militant vegans. And the thing is, a lot of times you're going to have your critters grazing land where not only, does it not currently have Purina vegan chow coming out of the ground, so there's no carrots, there's no tomatoes, there's no whatever it is that a person might eat. It's going to be what some people might call weeds or something like that. But not only does it not have that, the land is oftentimes not conducive to even growing that. And so it's rough country. And so an animal can go out and harvest all of that and come back and be able to be harvested as food. So it's not the same thing. The other thing is that when you do pulse grazing, or you're going to do the holistic management, or you're going to do paddock shift or mob grazing or any of those things, has anybody done anything like this? Anybody?
I've helped.
Okay. So for the two of you, I'm going to start with Sarah. I'm going to say that it improves the number of growies in the area by a factor of 5. So if that area stays, if you don't put any animals in it, you fence it off, no animals are allowed in there, there's a certain amount of growth that happens in that area. And now if you do paddock shift system in there, bump, 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 and then you run them through every once in a while, that somehow the growies love it, and there's 5 times more growies. That's what I'm stating. Are you in a position to validate what I've just said?
I don't think I have enough experience around that particular environment.
Excellent answer.
But I would say that it did grow more in the time that I was there.
Okay, all right. But you didn't have a before and after comparison. So it grew more, but maybe it would have grown more if there were whether you did it or not.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I can compare parts of the field that had the growies on them, or had the cows on them, and parts of the field that didn't. And there's definitely a difference.
And there's definitely a difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so that supports my cause, but it doesn't entirely validate it. Tim, you've also experienced this.
Yeah, so over the course of a year, every few weeks, I would do a couple of days training under Brian Welberg, who trained under Alan Savory, was one of the early guys that trained with him. So we did the whole course, and we looked at properties, and all the data says absolutely there's an increase in the biodiversity. That's what you talked about. Increase the biodiversity and the growth. And that's also about the fact that you're convincing farmers to value biodiversity too, in that they're not going, there's too many critters, we need to get rid of them or whatever. But yeah, definite changes in growth. Absolutely.
Definite changes in growth. But now I am making a bold claim. I'm saying 5 times more growies in a paddock when you exercise paddock shift or something that smells like paddock shift.
Yes.
You're saying yes, 5 times more. You'll endorse that.
I would endorse that for the simple reason that because you use the term pulse grazing, what you're doing is not letting the plants get into that senescent stage, so you've got your plants in a continual pattern of growth. You will see a shift from annuals to more perennials. So you're changing the ecosystem by grazing, and you are raising productivity if it is measured by not just grass, but by different species coming back in of perennials and whatever. Yes.
Yosemite Sam.
I guess my question is how you define the improved growth factor by is it the total
I'm trying to make a point and move on with the rest of the presentation.
I mean,
but yeah, we could spend 4 hours talking about this.
I'm all for doing this,
Sure.
I'm
glad you'll allow it.
I want to absolutely do this on my property. I'm all about it. I'm just wondering, does it mean in terms of factor 4 or 5 of total biomass production, or improve the biodiversity by factor 4 or 5? Or both?
I'm not even touching the diversity.
You mean biomass production?
I'm talking about biomass.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's clear.
So I mean, there's a movie that came out recently, Inhabit, and in it it's got Ben Falk there, and he says something like, bringing the sheep into here has improved the growth of what we have more than all of our efforts over the past 6 years. And I think this is possibly another way of saying exactly what I'm trying to say. And so it's wherever your gardens are, wherever your fields are, whether you're talking about zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, all of those things, it's if you want to make a jungle or a paradise or a gardener porn, any of these things, they're the things that are wow, adding in paddock shift systems or something that smells like it is going to make an enormous difference to your systems and I'm stating a factor of 5, and I think some people might even say it's more than 5.
But don't get hung up on 5.
Yes.
No, don't get hung up on 5.
Yeah. So I mean, we watched that video of Gabe Brown's place in North Dakota.
Yeah.
And if you listen to anything of Gabe Brown's, his numbers that he was before. Now there's a lot of variables that we don't know about his place.
Sure.
But let's just take it for what he said was he was running 80 cow-calf pairs and he's running 350 now.
Yep.
So you're awful mighty close to 5. It's probably more like 4.5. But
For the sake of argument.
For what he did, and he's not exactly doing permaculture. The stuff he's coming back with is of great value to permaculture.
yeah, if I was going to guess though, he's probably running on less land. His cows are running on less land than what they were before.
Possibly. Possibly.
Just
And
a
you'll
guess.
find he'll be supplementally feeding less
Yes.
through the winter.
Yes. So
I don't even think he
so a
was feeding
factor
at
of
all.
5. We're probably more than a factor of 5.
So I don't think he was feeding his animals at all in the winter.
I
There
think
you go.
He's not.
the important thing
Kind of a
is,
good one.
for not the 3
Yeah.
of you, but for the rest of the people that are here, is doing this is a profound thing. I mean, you would think that it's not going to do this, and yet there it is. It's and you really can't appreciate how profound it is until you've done it. Now, of course, you know, and I hope to be able to talk about what we're doing here now, because we've had a lot of people really frustrated by, when the fuck are you going to get some chickens here, man? Or any animal? Well, we have some animals here, as well as up at the lab. But the thing is that, and I want to get into this a little bit later, is like the quality of the feed. I don't want to feed chickens the stuff that you buy at the store. I want to give it to them and have them refuse it. And then I'm going to get to that here in a moment. So eventually, I want to benefit from having that paddock shift system in place, but I'm not ready to torture an animal yet. When the animals come, I want to respect them. If you like this sort of thing, come on out to the forums at permies.com, where we talk about raising chickens, homesteading, and permaculture all the time.